back again with another full edition of Speed Street presented by Dirty Mo Media. As always, Joey Molinaro, Connor Daly, Ben Walton here with you. It is the off season in IndyCar, but really what we've been saying all along is our show is just ramp up even more once the off season is here. Another stacked one for you. Have a fun, full conversation with Tom Blomqvist, the newcomer in 2024, one of the newcomers in 2024 to the IndyCar series. He stops by, talks about that, what he's looking forward to being full-time IndyCar. Just a great conversation all in all. So you got to talk to T. Blom, I believe is what people call him on Twitter. or
Just
Blom.
a new Quist. We got Rosenquist and Blomqvist.
Blomqvist, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the quest with Quists.
Yep.
So Tom's on the show today. Really enjoyed that conversation as well. We got podiums, we got some double birds, willpower double birds going on. But of course, can't start anywhere without Connor Daly. What's up, bro? We got a lot going on in the IndyCar world right now.
Yes, we have a new lawsuit to discuss. A new team lawsuit, team driver lawsuit. It's a great day for IndyCar drama. I don't ever remember this type of stuff when I was growing up. But boy, as a fan, because I am currently a race fan, very highly unemployed, so I am just enjoying. I'm soaking this all in. We got to get right into it. It's big news. I'm actually very glad that we recorded a little bit later today, because this is a big deal, right? This is a big deal. Roman Grosjean, friend of the show, is in some sort of, I don't know what arbitration means, but I will read the statement that he put out today, and it's interesting, complimentary, but also there's something going on here. So this is a limited statement of Romain Grosjean regarding arbitration. October 4th, 2023, I enjoyed working with the IndyCar team at Andretti Autosport, and I'm proud of the successes we shared through 2 seasons. I am thankful for the many friendships and developed at the highest level of American open-wheel racing. I had expected to continue racing with the fine people of Andretti Autosport in the coming years. I am disappointed that is not being fulfilled and wish Andretti team members well. I am pursuing other options to continue my IndyCar career in pursuit of excellence. I have commenced an arbitration proceeding in Indiana against Andretti Autosport seeking to protect my rights. I am represented by John Malley and Mark Owens of Barnes & Thornburg, LLP. Respectfully, Roman Grosjean. I don't know what arbitration means, so I gave it to our producer, Ben, this does seem like a producer thing. Sorry, Ben. But Ben, I would like you to read us the definition of arbitration, because I am not a lawyer. So please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is according to the American Bar Association, so we thank you for their support on this podcast. According to them, arbitration is a private process where disputing parties agree that one or several individuals can make a decision about a dispute after receiving evidence and hearing arguments. And arbitration is different from mediation because the neutral arbitrator has the authority to make a decision about the dispute.
I have no idea what that means. So someone getting sued? I don't know.
So it's kind of like they're going to court.
There's a disagreement
amicably
about an agreement.
Correct. So they're going to court amicably, and they're like, okay, let's try to figure this out amongst ourselves with like a legal person there in the background, and then the neutral arbitrator can make a decision, and they can take it or leave it. So they're basically just getting like a third opinion.
Interesting.
And if they don't like it, then they'll take it to like bigger court, I think.
Okay. Yeah. And it looks seeking to protect my rights. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I know that it's a shame to see that. I mean, you could tell there was definitely some headbutting going on towards the end of the year. I mean, that you'd be blind if you weren't seeing that. I mean, it's obvious, but I mean, why? I mean, it's fascinating.
Here's what I'm assuming is going down in this situation. Like you mentioned, the headbutting that was going on, the drain that this season was going down the toilet for Romain Grosjean and Andretti in the 28 car led to what seems like maybe an early release of the contract.
Yes.
Right. Now, with that early release of the contract, I'm sure that along with the contract ends, maybe I'm not sure, I'm assuming this is what's going to arbitration, that it has something in there about non-compete or some situation of that. Hey, you cannot, at least in my comedic entertainment contracts that I get, Connor, I know you could fill us in better on the driver contracts ins and outs, but at least for me, it's hey, if you do a deal with this brand, you are not able to do a deal with someone who is of certain types of services for X number of days, blah, blah, blah. Now, I've been lucky enough to where all my deals have fully gone through, and I haven't had to worry about having to axe one of those deals and then sitting there saying, well, now I can't go get another deal with somebody else in that space. But it seems like that's got to be the case, right? Like Andretti said, hey, we had you for this long. We're changing direction. But in Roman's mind, he's saying, well, it's not necessarily cause for change or termination, if you will. And now I go sign a deal with somebody else. So I feel like that's where we're at.
Yes, I think, and there's also, I don't know how these deals work. Every driver's contract really is kind of different, but there might be a situation where, I don't know if I should really say that. I mean, it's not bad, but like when I drove for Andretti Autosport, right? And that was an incredible experience. But I think, when you move on to somewhere else, they're very protective of their property, right? Whether that's sponsorship, information. So you obviously can't just leave Andretti Autosport and be like, well, here's all their setup sheets, or like, here's, I'd like to bring some of their sponsors with me, right? Because the Air Force deal was a little bit different. Like that in those contracts, we were able to move the Air Force to Ed Carpenter Racing, like, because that was a deal that was really, through me. And that was like a relationship that I had. And so that was something that, like, hey, you know what? It was a situation where we were able to get a lot more out of the budget in a different situation. So that was that. But, I had some small relationships with some of the partners at Andretti Autosport. But there was a legal document there that I was like, okay, hey, you know what? I know that I am not. And they were like, hey, Connor, like, by the way, there's this. And I was like, hey, that's totally fine. I had a very enjoyable experience with Andretti Autosport. This is business. You can't take partners that they've got with you, which is like, hey, totally fine. But maybe there's something there where he's like, hey, you saw some of Grosjean's partners maybe on the car. I don't know. He's obviously got to if he wants to continue IndyCar racing, maybe he's going to need some sponsorship at some new team that he goes to, whether that's Dale Coyne Racing or whatever's left. Right. So there's always racing is it's a sticky business at times, very sticky. We've obviously seen, this week we saw the damages that McLaren is requesting Alex Palou to pay is like $23 million. Let me tell you something, folks. No IndyCar driver is making $23 million. So no IndyCar driver is making over $10 million. I can promise you that. So it's so that's a wild deal. But you hate to see it because I the folks at Andretti Autosport, they've got so much great things going for them right now. Gamebridge, Dan Towers, Michael Andretti, JF Thorman, all those people I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Having the chance to drive for Andretti Autosport was, I think, one of the most special times in my career. Having a great Indy 500 run with them. But also, I wouldn't want to go up against them in any lawsuit either. Like, if you're talking Zach Brown or Andretti Autosport to be in lawsuits with, no thanks. Those are some powerhouses right there. And I do not want to be, crossing swords with those guys. That's for sure. So, pretty wild move. But you hate to see it, but from the fans' perspective, you're just like, man, it's wild to see this. I mean, for me, it's like, I'm like, man, some drama, racy drama.
Yeah, reality TV type stuff. And hope they, hope everybody is lawyered up and has got some good ones, because you never know who's going to be slapping you with some arbitration or some lawsuits going down now in the IndyCar paddock.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see it go there, but obviously this is a selfish game. This is a sport that's brutal in many, many ways that often the fans don't see. But now you're seeing it. I mean, you're seeing it right out in front of you. So we hope this gets resolved peacefully. Obviously, we hope everyone's good. We're big fans of of both parties. And honestly, you know, to continue on the Andretti Autosport train or Andretti Global, whatever it is now. I mean, they got approved to be an F1 team by the FIA. I mean, that's huge. This is a big deal for American motorsport, for motorsport in general. There obviously is another step for those who have been kind of paying attention or who might not have paid attention. You know, Andretti Global, Andretti Autosport as a whole have been approved by the FIA to basically become an F1 team. And I saw a tweet earlier today as well that, you know, they're not messing around. You know, they've had some people already working on you know, stuff in England, in the UK, you know, for this F1 team, you know, should they get all the approvals. So, you know, Andretti's not messing around. I love to see it. It's a huge step forward for us, for our series, for not only IndyCar but F1 and everything in general in American motorsport. I think that's fantastic. So, big deal, big stuff going on for Andretti Autosport, and huge for all their partners as well that are involved.
For sure. Now, does that, at this particular moment, October of 2023, obviously there's some more steps that need to be had before they, you know, fill the cars and get it out there on the grid for Formula One. But with that being said, it's always fun to speculate, Connor. Does that mean that looking like or leaning towards, you know, Kyle Kirkwood just signed an extension with Andretti. Is Kyle Kirkwood going to go in and be the American hero for Andretti Global, representing us in Formula One? Would it still be Colton Herta? What do you think?
I mean, sign me up for a Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood F1 team. I mean, that is America's next hopes right there. I love that idea. I don't think it's going to happen, but I mean, I see our drivers, some American drivers, as definitely having the ability to do it. I think that Kyle Kirkwood right now is one of the most promising young drivers that is in the field. And I think Colton Herta, without a doubt, has the ability to do it as well. The raw speed that he possesses is outstanding. And, you know, why not start speculating about drivers? I mean, there's still a lot of, I mean, there are discussions and, you know, things that need to still happen, you know, in the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of deals. So again, we don't know how that's going to progress, but I certainly know I would love to see it. I think it's a team that you can get behind, that we are very familiar with. Unlike Haas, where I can't understand. I cannot see that as an American team at all. With the amount of terrible things that group have said about American drivers, it's almost offensive that they have an American flag anywhere on that car. But yeah, this would be it. This would be a group that I would get behind for sure. And, you know, knowing a lot of the folks that are involved with it, you know, Dan Towers with Gamebridge, you know, he's been a supporter of mine in the past, and I'm very, very thankful for that. They're very incredible people. They had an amazing wedding that me and my family went to, him and Cassidy, his wife. I would be super pumped for them. So this is all positive, and I hope that it keeps going the right way. And I hope that, you know, America gets the respect that it deserves. And it's like, hey, Andretti, Cadillac, boom, here we go. Another Formula One team. Why not have 22 cars instead of 20? Because 20 is not that many.
No. Yeah, and then selfishly for me, I'd have an actual reason to want to not just be a jagoff when it comes to Formula One as well, because we have those ties and we have direct connection to Andretti and that team and that whole organization. And especially if they put some of those fine young friends of the show, American drivers, into the seats, then that'd be even better. When you said there's obviously there's $100 million out there. There's timelines that have to be crossed and I's and T's that have to be crossed and dotted and everything. But what's the realistic year or timeline for seeing Andretti be a part of Formula One in terms of actually racing cars?
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't know the timeline. I know, you know, what everything, you know, everything that's being discussed is essentially, you know, right now it's so profitable to be a Formula One team, and the revenue that these Formula One teams are generating, well, they don't want to share that with anyone else now, right? Like back in the day, they were begging new teams to come in. I remember when HRT and Manor Motorsports or Marussia, whatever it was, they were begging those guys to come in, and Formula One teams were worth nowhere near what they are now. And that's the hurdle that still needs to be, jumped over, right? If there's TV revenue, prize money revenue, instead of dividing that by, 10 ways, you got to divide it 11 ways, right? So that takes away essentially lots of millions per team in what they could earn. And so therefore, is that something that the Andretti group has to pay? Like, people were saying that they might have to pay $600 million to get in, which then helps cover the offset of funds for at least, I believe it's got to be 1 year for the other teams. But again, I don't see how this doesn't create more revenue for the sport in general. I think it would be very short-sighted for F1 teams to be like, nah, it's only us club, because what if 3 years down the road you don't see as much success with the sport, and you're begging for more cars to be there and more competition and more more sponsorship partnerships in the series. So I think it seems silly to me. Now, again, I'm not someone who manages a $1 billion sport, so I have no idea. But it seems silly to not want another team with such a historic name, with such an incredible pedigree in the game. So yeah, it's going to be a money thing. It's not about competition. It's not about having extra cars on the grid. It's purely about, hey, if there's another team, we get less money. And guess who loves money? Well, everyone. So all those teams are very, very possessive over their cash flow, and they're going to want to make sure that they retain their value and worth in general.
No doubt. Yeah. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Something that's very exciting, though, that really has ripple effects throughout a ton of motorsports. Global getting the approval there to hopefully sooner than later have cars on the grid for Formula One.
Yeah, let's aim for 2025. Why not? Like, let's just shoot for that one. Like, let's just get it all done over this winter. Maybe, Christmas gift to all of American motorsports fans is Andretti F1. Boom. Lock it in, and we get ready through next year, and we go, 2025, we're all going to have Andretti hats on at the F1 races.
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan to me. We'll be repping our Connor Daly hats this weekend because you are to the Roval.
Yes. Yeah, we we're going to try to go Xfinity racing one more time. Need a little bit of redemption after the Indy road course debacle that happened in the rain there. But yeah, I got a call last week, last Friday or Thursday, just before I went to Columbia for Alex Rossi's bachelor party, which is a whole other story. But yeah, Joey Gase, who obviously been a name in the NASCAR industry a long time, Emmerling Gase Motorsports. He called me up and said, "Hey, we need a guy for the Roval." I appreciate that opportunity for sure. Really cool to just get back in. Obviously, it's, it is a lower tier team. They're very, very familiar with that operation. They are the smaller budget, smaller situation. That's just the reality of it. We're gonna fight to get in the race. There's 42 cars that make 38 spots, but there are several cars that obviously make it on points. So realistically, we got to be, I think it's in the top 33 on time in qualifying, or like 4 cars who aren't in the points don't finish in the top 33 or something as well. So there's several different ways we can make the race. Obviously, if it's dry, I do think I've got a pretty good chance at it. I know that track in a stock car because I obviously did the truck race or the cup race there last year, and it's a fun track. So we'll see what happens. We wanna make the race. I think we will. And they're giving me a chance to do it, which is awesome. And I think there's obviously always going to be, potential risk, but I'm excited to just go racing again. I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off here recently because I just want to do stuff, and I want to I want to be busy. And so yeah, we finally get to go racing again. So it'll be fun. We'll be in the 53 car. We do have a sponsor for it now, I believe. When we announced that we didn't have this yet, but it's a very NASCAR looking car, I will say. Our sponsor's the National Fire Protection Association. So fpw.org is on the side of our car along with VBrick. It's actually a great looking car. I got to get this car as a die cast if we make the race because it is tremendous. So look for that when it does come out.
Well, that's fantastic, man. Congrats. The Roval is God, it's fine. I went there 2 years ago. Riley, my wife, and I were able to go for both Xfinity and for Cup.
Oh, nice.
What a track, what a scene, Ben. I know that's your backyard out there.
Ben, you'll be there, right?
Oh,
I will be there. Yes.
Yep.
There's nothing like having the combination of Saturday, you got college football on, you got Xfinity going on, and then, Saturday night you do your thing, you watch some college football. The next morning you're like, well, we're going to go watch some more NASCAR. And then later that night we're going to watch Sunday Night Football. Hopefully it's at Cole Swindell's bus. One of the best nights of my life. It was amazing.
There you go.
Roval's always a great time, man. Yeah, so that's fantastic. Good.
And me and my buddy Sage Karam, who was also with me at the bachelor party in Columbia over the weekend. We were doing, getting our minds right, doing some physical training out there in the streets of Columbia. But he's also going to be trying to make the race. We're kind of in similar cars. Like he's with a smaller, lower budget team as well. So it'll be fun to try to both of us make the race after, the weekend that we had together. So yeah, Columbia, interesting place.
How was that? How was old Alexander Rossi's bachelor party?
Well, it was a time. I would say Columbia is a place that I have never been to.
What an interesting choice for a bachelor destination.
Yeah, Cartagena. I don't know why it was chosen. But yeah, just an interesting place. I will say some great food. There was some great food. I will say that the most interesting thing and maybe the most annoying thing ever was every time you'd walk outside where you're staying or walking down the streets to try to go to another place, you'd have someone offering to sell you either a hat, sunglasses, or bracelets every 10 to 15 seconds. And that was a wild scene. Just a different world. I had never been there, obviously. Totally respect that culture down there. But boy, I tell you what, by the end of the weekend, if we got offered to buy another hat, I'm a hat guy too, but it was just something where it's cool to go to other places and experience different cultures. And I will also say it was hot. It was hotter than the surface of the sun down there. I have never sweat more in my life. But some beautiful places, some interesting things to do. But yeah, great food. Huh?
How was the nightlife?
Interesting. Good times. We've had some good times. And we will leave it at that. Everyone seemed happy. No one went to jail and no one died. So that was also very good.
It's a big boxes to check. I just didn't know.
Big boxes to check, yeah.
No, I didn't know comparable to, America, American nightlife. We're all fairly accustomed to that. And so, it's still the same kind of, you have your booths, maybe some bottle service.
Oh, yeah. Plenty of bottle service. Yep, definitely that.
Nice.
But
good.
Yeah, man, good time. And I brought back some chips as well here. I got these chips right here. Sage Karam ate about 8 or 9 bags of these one day. He really enjoyed the margarita chips, the margarita lemon chips, the limon margarita chips. Got to give a shout out to the lemon margarita chips because Sage Karam, those are his favorite chips of all time. If you see him this weekend at the Roval, just remind him about the margarita lemon chips, and that's all you need to say.
Those do look
we are going
tasty.
to have a Speed Street sticker on the car, I believe, this weekend as well. I'm bringing them with me. I gave away a bunch of them today at an appearance as well. But yeah, we are going to have a sticker, I believe, on the car. I'm going to try to throw it on there.
Love that. You want to get into some weekend podium?
Yeah, I do. I also want to mention really quick before we get there. I had this in my notes. Pato O'Ward is doing a lot for IndyCar. Just before we get to our podium, I could have put him on my podium, but I didn't. But I just want to respect him for just going out to the fight in Las Vegas. There was a fight over the weekend, big fight out of Canelo, I think, who people think I look like. But he's just front row at the big fight with Martin Garrix. Pato is doing the most, and that is good for our sport. It is good for everyone involved in IndyCar. And good for him. You know what I mean? He's got the money, he's got the looks, he's got the situation, he's got the success, he's a good driver. That is exactly how you should do it. I think I've seen every single IndyCar Instagram post is about either Pato or a Penske driver, but they're the most successful guys. So you know what? You gotta do it. So I love it. Good for it, Pato, for living life the right way and getting IndyCar exposure.
Yeah, dude, Pato gets it. He definitely does.
Gets it.
trying to bring that lifestyle, that fame, that star power.
We need to be looked at like that. Like, we need to have more drivers that are like, boom, all right, we're just hanging out with some of the most famous DJs in the world, doing cool stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's just what you got to do.
Newgarden too. Shout out to him. He
Titans game.
Yeah, we did whatever the Titan. Every NFL team has some stupid shit that you do now before. Like, it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the fact that he got to do it was cool. He stabbed the Titan sword into the, I don't even know what, but he was the guy before the game, and they, shouted him out, Indy 500 winner and everything. So got IndyCar all over the place. That was a big deal. Thought that was cool.
Thank God.
Weekend podium. Let's why don't you start us off there?
All right, yeah, let's get into the weekend podium. Cue our theme music that doesn't exist. Podium for me, so P3 on the podium, and we didn't really talk about this much yet, but Parker Klingerman put up a video on the internet of Ryan Blaney's onboard from the Talladega race, like basically like the last 5 laps. And Talladega spotters are P3 on my list of things for the weekend. I watched that video 6 times. I love the communication, and obviously we have a podcast on the Dirty Mo Media Network, TPC, that are very talented spotters. But I enjoyed so much listening to that communication. It gave me goosebumps, like listening in to the communication about where the cars are, what everyone's doing, and then Ryan Blaney winning the race, like by a hair. And I really enjoyed that. I think it's something that I wish more of those video clips were put out, just more like 5-10 minute clips. I don't care, whatever it is, just let me listen in. Because it was a very, very exciting video. And I enjoyed watching the end of that race. We all watched it at the airport on the way back from Columbia. Great finish to the race. Thought our boy Corey LaJoie was going to get it there at the end. Very, very close, top 5. But yeah, good for Ryan Blaney, a friend of mine, after literally running with him most of my Daytona 500 experience this year.
Like Ryan Blaney, yeah, good dude, big Star Wars fan. So
big Star Wars guy.
Always a good to go with a big Star Wars fan in my book. 3 for me on my podium. I'm going with Keith, the Uber driver. This man was an Uber driver that I had Saturday morning. So I had a flight Saturday morning in Norman, Oklahoma. Well, it was Oklahoma City's airport, essentially. So OKC's
great
airport.
go-kart track in Norman, Oklahoma.
Oh,
no
nice.
big deal.
I didn't see that one, but I can imagine. So I was down there doing my thing with Fox. I had a 5 a.m. flight from OKC to Dallas back to Indy because I had an event that I had to be at on Saturday afternoon. Anyways, I scheduled the Uber the night before for like 3:45 to be picked up, right? And so it's like 3:40. I'm getting out of the shower, right? It's early as shit, obviously. So I'm like, I'm dragging a little bit, but like I just have to stuff all my stuff into my briefcase and go. And they text me already. Uber does. They're like, your driver has arrived. They will wait for you. And I was like, perfect. I'm about right on time. Glad they're gonna wait. As I'm getting off the elevator with all my stuff, I get a text. Unfortunately, your Uber driver had to cancel. It's like 48. I'm like, so now, I'm in Moore, Oklahoma. They don't just readily have Ubers available like downtown Indianapolis there. It's already almost 4 a.m. My flight boards at 4:30. I'm like, well, this is ridiculous. So luckily, Keith, I booked another one. This guy's named Keith. I texted him on the side. I was like, hey, man, I got a flight at 5 a.m. My original ride that I scheduled last night canceled on me like 2 minutes ago. So we might have to like punch it. And he just said, got you. And then he came and he got me, and the dude was pushing it through yellow lights. He was you could tell that he was making it happen.
Qualifying
laps. I made my flight. Made my flight. So number 3 podium this week, Keith the Uber driver.
I love it. I love it. Ben,
Ben?
what about you? Is arbitration your P3?
No, just don't ask me to spell it because it might take me a second. But
I wouldn't want to do that either.
Speaking of Talladega, based off of your point, I enjoyed Chase Briscoe and Ryan Priest's Talladega Nights deals that were going on
Tremendous.
for like a week or two and throughout the weekend. Their dedication was awesome. The sponsors interaction was great. So they did. Ryan got up front and led some laps, so that was cool to see. Loved all the TikToks.
Well, Stuart Haas cars were fast.
Yeah, they were
really
good.
Fast.
Everybody was good. Almirola on the pole. They stayed up front. Kevin could have won. So that was fun to see. It was fun to have them all like seem like they're having a good time.
Dude, it was the commitment to it. I mean, Chase Briscoe with the mustache, like the Magic Man at driver intros, astounding. Like, but that's
great.
what you got to do. I mean, I bet Old Spice and Wonder Bread are through the roof with what they got out of that. Because that, for me, I thought that was fantastic. So the cars looked great. The drivers killed it. And Chase being obviously a good friend of the program, that was just so cool. I love that. I thought it was fantastic. Man. All right. Well, P2 for me. P2 for me, and I mentioned this a little bit. Colombian meats. The night one, and I've only recently, if people knew me for a while as a vegan. Pat McAfee made fun of me when I was a vegan for a little while, way back in end of 2017. But I just wanted to try it. And then I've not been vegan for a very long time, but I've stuck to the pescatarian route. But then recently, like during the summer, obviously life changed a lot. So I said, you know what? I'm going to change up my diet too. I'm just going to go back to being able to eat, I'm going to go back to eating meats too. So night one in Colombia, we had this dinner that might have been one of the most incredible dinners that I've ever had in my life. No idea what the place was called. But we had this like steak that was seasoned and prepared in this unbelievable way. And my gosh, that was one of the best meals I've ever had in my life, I think. So yeah, credit to them for having a strong meat game down in Colombia.
Was it a place called Fogo de Chao?
It was not Fogo de Chao. That is Brazilian steakhouse, but definitely a little bit different than Fogo de Chao.
Yeah. Good.
That was the most American thing you could have said right there.
I was just testing you to see if would love to get my mouth on some Colombian meats. Number 2 for me, my second place podium. Just how about the month of October? We're officially in it. I think pound for pound, dollar for dollar, it's the best month out of the year. You got all the sports you could possibly want. So many activities to do, whether it be with the lady, whether it be with the boys, whether it be with them combined. Apple orchards, pumpkin patches, Halloween parties, booze everywhere, candy, Halloween movies, and all that shit. It's just awesome, man. You got day playoff baseball. You got football everywhere. Can be at October. So second place this weekend goes into October because we're officially in it.
And it's probably the last month or time frame that you're not going to get too many Christmas ads or anything like that. Sometimes towards Halloween it'll get close, but at least like the first part you can at least enjoy the non-Christmas stuff.
Brother, I tracked my first Christmas commercial last year on October 4th. It's October 4th.
Oh,
Here we
no.
go.
Oh no!
If you go to
I'm
Home
ready.
Depot or Target or any Walmart, all Christmas, I got it all out already.
Well, then I'm throwing away my point then.
I have already.
No, but I hear
purchased.
you. I hear you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's
not the
theoretically
focus.
it should be. Yeah.
It's not the focus
Yes.
for everybody that it is by the time you get to November 1. Because November 1 is over.
Boom.
Right.
I have already purchased my Halloween costume as well. By the way, I am fully locked in.
Is it a secret? Is it a couple's costume?
Are we going the inflatable
No, it's not a
route
couple's
again?
costume. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for a Halloween
Okay.
episode. I'm gonna save it,
Okay.
but it has been purchased and I am excited about it.
Okay. Ben, P2.
P2 for me. We're giving another Minnesota sports update. This is the official Minnesota sports update.
Kirk Cousins loves his pick sixes, huh?
He loves his pick sixes, but we got the win. So
I didn't
that's
see anything
good.
about the links. That's interesting.
I mean, they speak for themselves. The multi champions. And the Twins won their first playoff game since 2004 when I was 3 years old. So we were celebrating. They got, I think Game 2's tonight against the Blue Jays. So shout out them, and we're on the train.
That's big,
baseball
man. On the wagon.
I'm not a baseball guy, but good for them.
Yeah.
Well, I am a huge baseball guy, so I'll fill you in. There's not a lot like playoff baseball, especially when it's your team, and especially when your team goes on a little bit of a run. Like you really get swept up in the magic, and and like the fall classic of it. I'm very happy for you, Ben. That's something to really revel in. That's
Thank
great.
you. We don't get much. Usually, it's a first round loss to the Yankees about every year, and they're not even in the playoffs. So we're enjoying some playoff ball in the old soda.
That's good.
I love that. Hey, good for you. Good for sports.
Thank you.
All right, so P1 for me, rounding it out here. This one might be a little bit out of left field, but P1 for me, this is something I've been doing a lot lately, and it also might indicate where we're at in the off season, because I am bored. And is it maybe risky doing this NASCAR race this weekend in a situation where we don't know what the outcome might be? Yes. But it gets me off the couch. It gets me out of my, work towards figuring out what's going to happen next year, which, again, is looking good. I think we're looking positive for next year. I don't know where it's going to be. Might be an interesting schedule. But Pokemon card opening videos on YouTube are my number one. I basically, if there's something on my television all day long, it's people opening Pokemon card packs. I love Pokemon. It's my childhood. I have a big collection myself. I wish I saved everything that I opened when I was a youth, because we were opening Pokemon cards like it was going out of style. And now they're worth you could buy houses with the Pokemon card openings that people are doing right now. But shout out to the folks. There's even a guy on YouTube who's in Indiana. Real Breaking Nate is his name. We've interacted now on the internet. He's got like 1.6 million YouTube subscribers. But guess what? I'm watching him open Pokemon cards all day long. There's another guy who recently followed me on Instagram, which I felt really good about. PokeRev is his name. Big fan of that guy opening cool stuff. So again, big nerd explanation here that you all just got. Shout out to the folks that obviously you saw my Pokemon racing helmets. Everyone knows that, and my Pokemon shoes. You know what's going on. But I will just enjoy the heck out of some dudes or chicks or whoever it is opening Pokemon cards, because I wish I could do it too. So there you go.
No, it's huge, man. And I hear you on that. I think we talked about it probably like when we started doing the show, because I was right off of it. But like even like sports card.
Oh, yeah.
Online. I went into that big for a while. It's addicting
it's a
to
dark
watch.
Hole.
It's so easy to watch, and it's interesting to see who they get, who they don't, who they want, how much one to be worth. I feel you, absolutely. So no shame there, man. YouTube videos like that are the way of the world now.
I'm locked in all day long.
P1 for me, I don't even know if I talked about it on this show yet, but I have a son, and I am expecting a daughter here soon. February. My wife is pregnant again, so she's due in February with our little girl.
Love that.
So P1 for me today goes to my daughter, which is wild to say, but yeah, we had the 20-week checkup, and mom is all healthy. And we got to do the 3D visual look at little girl, and she's measuring great, and is all healthy, and has all of her fingers and toes and everything like that.
Love that.
So, P1 goes to my little girl, so very excited about that.
Hey, congrats! We love to hear that stuff. That's the Speed Street family.
Yes,
the neighborhood's growing.
The neighborhood's growing. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, Ben, finish it up.
So this got leaked probably maybe like a few days ago. I don't really remember the timeline, but the NASCAR schedule literally just came out as we're recording, and they did confirm that Iowa is back on the NASCAR schedule, which is awesome.
I meant to mention that too during the show, so good job.
Thank you. I thought Xfinity always put on a pretty good Iowa race, and I Appreciate when they do Midwest races. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be my P1. Maybe I'll go to it next year. I think it's in June, something like that. Yeah.
I would love to do the Xfinity race there. Like I would somehow figure out. I don't know if I have to go to Dale Jr.'s house and mow his lawn for 2 years straight, or something like that. But I would love to be a part of that Xfinity race in some way. They got an 88 car. I'm sure they could run it. So, we'll see.
You have to do his laundry. It's not the lawn. It's the lawn.
Sign me up. I'll do the laundry. I'll mow the lawn. I'll paint the house, whatever it is. I'll change the air filters, filter time. Here we go. I'll do it.
All right, boss. You hear that, Dale Jr.?
I mean, I already said during this show that I would cut off my pinky finger to drive for Shank. So, like,
we were about to say something else there. I was like, okay, you don't want to drive that bad.
Cutting off my pinky finger to drive for the Michael Shank Racing team again, Schmeier Shank Racing team. That's what I would do.
All right, that's this weekend's podium. Real quick before we get to Tom, I got double birds. If anybody has
Willpower's birds.
Willpower double birds. Big willpower double birds to 87 degrees in October. What the hell are we doing? This is driving me absolutely insane. I look forward all year to get to October, so it's like a nice, crisp 58 to 63.
Put on the hoodie.
Breeze. Put on the hoodie. It's 87 degrees out. I'm sweating my ass off if I wear anything other than a tank top and shorts. It's driving me insane. I mean, my eyes are huge. Big old double bird to the 87 degrees in October. However, I'm glad that I got that out of my system because looking at the forecast ahead, we're going down the good October. It's going to be like 58 degrees on Saturday, and I cannot wait. So I haven't had a double birds in a while, and I found it appropriate to bring it out for that.
I feel you because I was a man in Colombia that it was so hot and humid. There was like 92 every day with like 99% humidity.
Thanks.
And I have never, like, I struggle with the heat in general. We know this. We've talked about this in the Indy cars. But, like, I had to sit and just, like, put ice on my face, like, the entire time. I could not survive. Like, for me, I was a dying body and not a lot of AC in certain situations, not a lot of air movement. It was a tough go. So I am also ready for some cooler temperatures. Just give me like 70 degrees for a little bit, maybe 65. Maybe as we look at the forecast, you are right. It is a little chillier, but man, I'm right there with you. It's almost time to just cool her down a hair.
Yeah, time to get the AC blowing in for Mother Nature. Absolutely. All right, double birds weekend podium in the books. Now let's talk to one of the newcomers in 2024. Very fun conversation with Meyer Shank's Tom Blomqvist.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the internet and the world, we have a very talented guest this week, a very, very special guest this week. He is an IndyCar driver. And at this time last year, we didn't know he was going to be an IndyCar driver. I don't know if Tom knew he was going to be an IndyCar driver. Tom Blomqvist, I don't know if we were we teammates this year? Technically, we drove the same car, but I don't know if that means that we were actually teammates. I don't know.
we shared the same cockpit, right? I mean,
exactly.
That's about it. Man, yeah. Dude, what a privilege to be on your show, man.
Well, like, this all started after you saw Connor DeFilippi was my guest last week. You texted me
I was
said,
like, dude,
when am I going to be on the show? I was like, funny you asked.
I didn't expect it to happen like a few days later, you know. Yeah, I mean, this is the first time, apart from, sharing, a bit of time together in at MSR, and then way back in like 2011, most of our time together has been more on the sociable side of things.
Yes. So we've had some great social times. To give people, we want to get you out into the IndyCar world. Obviously, I don't think any of us expected, the situation that you were in this year, obviously. And I mean, I didn't expect that either, right? But I think as the year went on, everyone kind of knew, hey, like maybe is Tom going to get that seat? Maybe, but I'm going to get to that later. You were an open wheel guy from the start. Like this, we know you now as big sports car legend guy, right? Like that's, a lot of great success there. But, when I first met you, we were both trying to be Formula One drivers, right? Like we wanted to go that direction. We were in the GP3 series, trying to be in the GP3 series, but kind of tell people the path that you started or what your aim was at first, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like yourself, and yeah, my goal, my dream was clearly, Formula One, right? Like every young aspiring racing driver, growing up go-karting, kind of, their kind of goal is, right? And yeah, I started my go-karting. I did that in New Zealand. Like I wasn't even, I am British. My father's Swedish, but I grew up in New Zealand as a young kid. I was living there from 6 till I was 15. I did all my go-karting, majority of my school. But yeah, I came over to Europe in 2009. Started, I started hassling my old man because, I don't know if many people know, but he was in the sport. I kind of grew up around it. He was a rally driver. So
absolute
my whole
legend
life
over in Europe. Like if you say that name, you're like legendary guy right there.
Yeah. So I kind of grew up around it, right? Like it was inevitable that at some point I was going to get into the sport. But yeah, I was hassling him. I was like, Dad, I want to come over. I want to try and do this racing thing. And yeah, 2009, I moved to Europe. I went and raced in a Formula Renault championship in Sweden. Like this thing had like 10 cars, it was low key. And funnily enough, my teammate for next year, Felix, was there. So like I raced against him. Yeah. He won the championship. Actually, I finished third.
That's hilarious.
I raced against
how
him.
life works out is hilarious.
Dude, unreal. So like we've raced, together literally since my first year in car racing back in 2009. So it's been pretty wild to come back, and be teammates. So yeah, we've known each other for a long, long time. So that aside, yeah, 2009, my first year in car racing, I was 15, turning 16 end of that year. Went all right. Like I wasn't too bad. My dad was like, "Hey, maybe this kid, he's half decent. Let's see if we can round up, a bit of money, to kind of like maybe progress this thing and move to the UK and try the Formula Renault UK." So the year after, I went and did the British Formula Renault Championship, 2010. I managed to win that one. And yeah, I was like, hey, man, this sport, I got this thing covered, this is easy.
There you go.
Obviously, I'm super young, naive. Yeah, won that series in my first year. And then it all kind of went, I would say, but kind of pear-shaped, not pear-shaped for me, but this whole, dream of just, like, well, that was easy. Let's go Formula 3, crank that out, and boom, before you know it, 3 years, I'll be in Formula 1. Happy days. But didn't quite work out like that. I was obviously young. Also, like a lot of people at the time, because my dad was relatively successful back in his era, they just kind of assumed like, we had bucket loads of money to throw at the sport. And we simply didn't, it wasn't, the times back in his time, it wasn't like, it wasn't like heyday, the heydays of earning massive bucks.
Well, people thought that about my dad too, right? Like my dad was Formula One driver. Oh yeah, he must have boats and bucket loads of cash. I'm like, yeah, that's hilarious. He drives a van.
So we and you have kind of similar stories there. And yeah, I kind of just struggled to find funding for a couple of years. 2011, I raced in a German Formula 3 championship. I had an accident like 3/4 of the way through that year, broke my back. That set me back there. And then, yeah.
Wow.
And I think when we tested together, 2011, I think it was the end of 2011, right? I was kind of like coming back off this injury and just trying to scramble together, getting some tests.
Was that ADAC series that a lot of drivers ended up in? Like,
yes, exactly.
I was familiar. Like a lot of drivers ended up doing that you wouldn't expect, and you're like, oh, that's like a pretty competitive championship here and there.
There was the ADAC. It wasn't ADAC sponsored series, but there was a small car that was like kind of known as the ADAC GT, whatever it was, series. I did the like Formula 3, which actually Felix did it the year before I.
Yeah.
So it was and it was just 2011, 12, 13. Kind of like jumped around a bit. I mean, at one point I was on the McLaren Young Driver program. 2013, I was with Red Bull. Like I was jumping around. Right. I was all over the show. I was like really scrambling to try and get some, get everything together to try and like continue racing, right? And it wasn't until literally end of 2013 when I got, I was still in open wheels, Formula 3. I met the Galal family, Sean Galal.
Oh yeah.
dude, I got invited to a surprise birthday party the family was putting on for the son. Last man, I got the
So to
itinerary
give
through, I was
everyone
like,
real quick, give everyone a
Yeah.
background on Sean, because I know Sean raced in GP2. I think he just went straight to GP2. I don't know if he did Did he do World Series as
we
well?
did, yeah. So we
Yeah.
did F3. I think 2 years of F3 World Series, and then a couple of years of F2.
Yeah.
Yeah, GP2.
But his family, is this right? KFC, there was like a lot of support behind there, right?
Yeah, so they basically have the sole franchise for KFC in Indonesia. So
Yes.
their family kind of brought that to the country and have grown that. And yeah, like at the time he was an Italian driver who did make it to Formula One, Antonio Giovinazzi.
Yes.
He was those two were racing against me in Formula 3 in 2013, and I'd never like interacted with them. I was kind of on my own, like I'd never really spoke to them. Anyway, I got this invite and it was like, man, this is too good to be true. This sounds so cool. I'm going to this like birthday party.
1,000%.
Yeah, and I went, and I mean, I met the father basically for the first time properly. I met Sean, and yeah, I just remember like the father started talking that he wanted to like sponsor one more car sort of thing to like create a team. We go to Basic Carland, which you drove for, right?
Yep.
One of the best teams in Formula 3 at the time. And I was kind of like, wow, this sounds too good to be true, And he was just saying like, there's a few drivers there. Anyway, this birthday party goes on, a few days go later, and he's getting more and more serious with me about, wanting to, basically saying like, Tom, we'd like you to kind of join our team for the next year. And the team, Carlin, would, supporting that. Basically out of this, going to this birthday party that, and I hadn't met Sean or the family before, really. I ended up securing a drive for the following year with one of the best teams on the grid. I mean,
racing is such a hilarious. I did not know this story, honestly.
Yeah, it's a wild story.
That is the most racing story ever, because you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, that's how I met like the Bidnow folks. Was my 30th birthday in Las Vegas. You know what I mean? You never know. That's incredible.
You never know. And I mean, I must admit, that family does so much for so many drivers actually in the sport. And you can't really take that, away from them. So they give me this kind of almost a lifeline, and in a way, obviously, I did the job the next year and finished second in the series. That was a big year as well. Like the guys who, the first and third and Formula one of them's multiple world champion, probably soon to be another, win another championship. There's some huge names that year, like Ocon, Verstappen, Felix was there, Giovinazzi. There was loads of us. Like it was a sick year of F3. I just remember it was so much fun. And kind of off the back of that, I had interest from, some DTM manufacturers, BMW mainly. Went and did basically a test for them that went really well. And next thing I know, I'm getting a kind of my first sort of professional contract through in at the end of 2014 to sign, on to 2015 and onwards. So my single seater journey kind of stopped at the end of the 2014 season. But like most of us, man, my goal was to go to F1. And to be fair to Sean's family, they wanted me to continue with them. It was an uncertainty, right? Like I could have tried to keep chipping away at that dream. At the same time, I had this deal in front of me to become a professional racing driver in the DTM, which,
get
Europe's
paid to
like
do your
pretty
job.
big. Yeah, exactly. So, I went down that route, and that was my last sort of foray into in single seaters, and now I'm back. But it feels like I remember the first time I jumped out of the single seater into the DTM car for the first time. I was like, oh my god, I'm so lost. This is like what I remember doing everything that I'm now not doing when I jumped back into IndyCar. I'm like, I'm kind of like I'm learning all that stuff that I learned over all these years. I'm getting used to these sorts of cars. So pretty wild, and here I am.
Yeah, I mean, a fascinating story, but again, it's one of those things that as drivers, right? We this is our job, right? This is our profession. Like you want it to be, but for many years growing up, you're not getting paid to do what you love to do, right? And you like to do this job, but if one route closes, you have to go where you can make a living and sustain life, like doing what you do, right? And it's something that it might not have been ideal, but in the end, like, we still love driving race cars, right? So you figuring out your niche, you're figuring out where, like, hey, I'm going to be the guy here. Like, I'm going to be making money here. I'm going to do what I love to do at a certain level. And it worked out, right? You ended up, the BMW thing that you started ended up leading to your next relationship that leads to the next relationship. And then in the end, you're now at the top, like a top level open wheel racing series again. You know what I mean? You never know where life can take you.
No, exactly. I mean, God, this time last year, I had no idea I'd be, I think this time last year, I hadn't even driven an IndyCar ever.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's just wild how things work. And I mean, this whole thing kind of started with what, I've kind of done for Mike and Jim and everyone at, MSR over the past, 24 months sort of thing. Because this was just started as a thought, right? As a maybe.
I want to get into that. So at what point did you? Because like I would cut off my pinky finger to get to drive for Michael Shank Racing again. And like Meyer Shank Racing, like, great operation. When did that conversation start? Like, what was the first? Like, did you just look over at Mike and be like, I mean, if there was an opening, I wouldn't mind getting back in there. Like, how did that conversation start? Just to let people know, because obviously, that he had Simon and Elio there, and obviously, two older drivers who have been experienced, but at some point there may be a change. When did that conversation at least be like, hey, I don't know what the future is there, but let me know if there's maybe a chance.
Yeah, I mean, so I joined. It was actually about this time last 2021 when I went over to test for Mike at Atlanta in the sports car. One thing led to another, and we were like, yeah, this is, let's do this. Like, I signed up with him for the sports car program. At that time, like, I mean, obviously I've followed IndyCar since I was like a kid. I grew up in New Zealand. Scott Dixon was a big hero. I remember watching Elio climb the fence, man. I remember watching Elio's MTV Cribs episode back in, like, God knows when it was. Like, I used to love that show.
I did not know that existed, but I can't wait to find that on the internet.
You gotta find that MTV Cribs, man. Brilliant.
Oh man.
I was like, damn, these guys earn so much. Man, that's such good life.
They earned way more money back in that day.
Yeah, this house was sick. No, anyway, getting back to the point. So it when I first started with them, the beginning, even the first half of 2021, like, it wasn't really I was following the team. I was watching IndyCar like more closely just because of the relationship I had with the team. And I was like, man, I kind of said to him once, like, man, you got to give me, I want to have a go. And like, I think I just said, like, almost not as a joke, like, it was half joke, half serious. It was like, you need to give me a go in an IndyCar, in one of these cars. And, IndyCar, they do have that, they have that, like,
the rookie driver. Yep. The rookie driver test.
That you can kind of, exactly. And he did say, like, well, we do get this, rookie day, let's kind of see how you get on this year, sort of thing. It kind of went like that. And obviously, we started to have a really good year. And I think it was a little bit like, he always wanted to reward me for that.
Yeah, of course.
At the same time as, like, hey, he's done a great job here. He did do this, his whole like, he grew up going down this route. You were an open
wheel guy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like it's a foreign thing for him. He's been successful in these sorts of types of cars. Okay, it was a while ago. Yeah, let's give it a shot. Maybe there is something that can lead to something.
Yeah.
And I did that test, and the test went all right. I mean, I was at Sebring, the short track. Obviously, I know that track, quite well. Having driven sports cars so many times. And yeah, the test went good, and I was like, man, this is cool. Like, I'd love to, give this a go. I'd be serious about this. So I was kind of like pushing them a little bit, like, yeah, if there's ever a chance for me in this, like, yeah, I'm ready. I want to do it. And then it just, went into this year and kind of started the year well, and it just kind of slowly went, one thing just kind of led to another, and said, maybe there's a possibility here. And it just kind of started to gather traction as the year went on, and here I am.
Yeah.
So, like, we knew it wasn't, we didn't, it's kind of that's the best way to put it is, we don't expect like fireworks straight away, right? It was, both of us are pretty realistic. But this is like this challenge, in racing and life, and I've kind of been doing the similar thing for so long now. Like I feel like I'm in such a comfortable environment in my sports car. This is like a whole new challenge. It's like, man, I'm pumped for it. I'm freaking excited, and I'm kind of. It feels like I'm starting from a place that I'm not, that I don't like being, where I am, sort of thing. So it's like having something to work for is pretty exciting again.
Yeah, sorry about the emergency service. I think Ben, you must have got that too on your phone. The entire United American States, we were all supposed to get an emergency. No, the entire country was supposed to get a test message about some emergency system. So now
I saw that on the news, actually.
We know that the government has access to our phones. That's awesome. But getting back to that. So what has been the biggest, the toughest part, right? Because the IndyCar right now, as we both know, is I would say, if it is not the most competitive racing series in the world, I'd like to know what is. Certainly on the open wheel side, right? Formula One is a different world. You've got one team that wins, except for Carlos Sainz. Great job, homie. He broke the Red Bull streak. Love to see that. Yep. But and NASCAR is, again, a completely different world. That's very competitive on its own right? But IndyCar, when it comes to the amount of teams, the amount of drivers, it's so competitive. So what has been the most challenging thing so far, right? It's actually probably great that you got a couple races just to dabble, right? Hey, like I'm going to check it out. I already know that I've got a job, which is that's the best thing in the world, right? The best feeling in the world that, hey, I've got a job next year. I'm going to get a couple practice rounds in. So what has been the most challenging thing so far that you think, hey, for next year, this is where I'm going to start attacking, to try to work on that?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I totally agree. I think, I have to experience it now. And I mean, it's, in my opinion, I think it's got to be, Formula, you can't compare to Formula One, right? Because of the cars, it's such a big delta. Like, it's not comparable. But the level of drivers in the series with the teams, how close everyone, man, I think it's got to be up there. If not, I tend to agree. I think Will Power said it a few times, but man, I tend to agree. Like it's ruthless. Like it's brutal. It's, these guys, and the experience counts in this series as well, right? You still see these, old legends, put like sticks. I mean, the guy does it all the time, right? And you got the young, you got the youth, you got the speed, you got the old wise foxes. Like it's full, it's stacked of talent. And man, it was hard. And I think for me, the biggest thing is just that my connection with the car at the moment, right? Like my feeling, I've been so used to, I keep talking about the way the prototypes and the cars with power steering react. I'm used to driving super smooth, being super precise. The cars that I drive are very pointy. So like you have to be super slow. You almost like slow your reaction with the wheel down on purpose, because otherwise, the thing's too reactive. Whereas in IndyCar, it's the complete opposite. What I found myself, I've struggled more as the speeds come up, like the higher the speed corner, the slower I am with the car. So the slower I am with the wheel, getting the car positioned exactly how I wanted to position it, just because I'm not used to putting in that aggressive sort of force on the wheel. And it's so...
And the physical force too.
Exactly. So the physical force that I feel through the car, I'm just not used to having that feeling, because at the moment it feels like I'm questioning myself, but is this car going to stick? Is it going to snap? And because I'm not used to that extra force, I feel like it's going to snap, and I'm not ready to correct it because of how heavy everything is, right? And that, like, just from my Portland race to Laguna felt like a whole different, like even just having that first race and in that week, it was like, man, this is so much easier the second time around. I'm still not where I want to be, but I was like, wow, this is so much more natural. So there's so much more. And having done those races, it's a huge benefit for me, mentally knowing what to expect, what to prepare, how to prepare my body, and all these things going into next season. So that's definitely helped. But yeah, it was a bit of a shock to the system, I have to say. Like, to be honest, I was hoping for a little bit more. But I felt like the trajectory was in the right way. It's just you know, I got to give myself this time over the season, over the winter to, you know, get in shape, get ready. But man, I'm pumped for the challenge because yeah, I've read some, you know, there's some stuff online and stuff. It's fine to read that, but yeah, like it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool, and hopefully we'll figure it out.
So with what you just described there, Tom, are you more or less excited for the Indy 500 and all that goes with those speeds and those turns?
Yeah, I did my first Indy oval test as well in Texas like few weeks back. Man, those first laps were.
I texted you after that too. I was like, "Hey, let me know."
I was like, "Wow, this is so weird." Like, I was like so tense. Like the first few laps, I don't think I felt anything on the car. I was just like focusing, like trying, you know, to be so precise with my hands. I was like, "Man, don't hit that white line.
Don't die. Yeah.
But it's amazing. I was like, dude, I'm doing like, I mean, in normal people's language, I was like averaging like 250 clicks a lap speed, right? Like it's like what 215 something mile an hour in your guys' language, and I better get used to that language though.
MPH instead of KPH. Yeah.
I was like, man, that's fast, but it's crazy how your brain and your mind, everything just after a while just slows it down, and it's like I find that fascinating. Like that's cool to see how your body and your mind, everything just like evolves. And the speed I mean, it's fast. Don't get me wrong. It's like ridiculously fast. And I was on my own, right? So that's one thing. I mean, driving on your own is you know, if you got the race, you know, you got downforce on the car, and it's a whole different ball game to putting me, you know, chucking me in the lion's den with 30 other cars, right? So it's a baby step. But man, I'm so excited for the 500. And like, I've only watched it on TV. I've never been to one in my life. The first one I'm going to is the one I'm racing. So that's, I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea.
Wow. It's terrific. I honestly, I have said this multiple times before, but I always say to people, like friends that I've made in racing, right? Like back in the day, the crew, you know, DaCosta, me, you, like Daniel App, like all those guys from back, Mitch Evans, like guys that we all hang with, dudes that are just bros in the racing community that I honestly, there's that group, like remember that group that we hung out with in New York City at the Formula E race? Like that whole, like that night, I wish all of us could race like the Indy 500 together, because it would just be such an, like it's such an incredible experience to be a part of, not only for the competition side, but like the speed and just the event. It's like I wish everyone had a chance to do it because of how much fun it is. And I'm glad you get to do that, right? The speed at Texas that you're doing, you're like, add 20 miles an hour. You're like, it's crazy that, like, do you think that it's crazy, or you're like, hey, you know what? Let's just get out there and just get some laps in and get it going.
I mean, I think anyone in their right mind, you know, it is crazy, right? At the end of the day, we're racing it like it is crazy. It's just, you know, once you got that helmet on and you know, you're in the race car, right? You're in your natural habitat, let's say. And but you know, I'm under no illusion. Like this whole oval super speedway game it's a whole new ball game for me. Like you know, all those kind of, let's say, that art of driving you pick up over years from starting from go-karting, right? That whole art from the moment you hit the brake pedal to the moment you get back on throttle, it's kind of gone. It's kind of changed completely, right? Like that whole way you manipulate the cars is gone. Like it's a whole different ballgame. And I think that was the biggest thing that stood out is, you know, how in tune you have to be with your car and how well you feel the car and what you can kind of get away with in terms of like driving that setup in the right direction, right? And I think that's going to be something that I needed to understand and learn. And in the racecraft, because the racecraft is it's completely different to you know, normal road racing or street racing. So yeah, it's going to take time. Like, you know, you can't expect to just jump in that kind of racing and just be like on the money, right? So hey, but like I said, I'm really excited for that race.
Tom, real quick, no, you got to go. With you being full-time in IndyCar next year, want to know what is one track that you are really looking forward to besides the Indy 500? What's one track that you can't wait to get to that you haven't been to yet?
It's a good question, actually. I think I'm less excited about the tracks as I am like checking out some of these like like Nashville. You know, I've heard so many good things about Nashville,
Oh, yeah.
the event.
Fun time.
Yeah, that I'm really excited for. St. Pete, I've heard that one's pretty cool. I've never been there. So I don't even know what tracks. To be honest, I've almost raced at all of them now. So there
because IMSA does Long Beach, so you've done the Long Beach race. You've
Yeah,
done
I think,
Detroit,
like,
but the new Detroit is a little bit different. So there's that.
So I haven't done. I think there's only a handful of street and road courses that I haven't been to. St. Pete, Detroit, and Nashville, but it's going to be new for basically for everyone. I can't even remember what other ones, but there isn't many. So the tracks. I'm not like I'd love to give this track a go. I think I've done some. I've been very fortunate to do some of the most amazing. I've raced literally from the Nürburgring 24 hours to Macau and I feel like I've done some of the best. I think I've done all the best tracks in the world. So apart from the obviously Indy 500, but I'm just excited to go to some of these cities and these events that I've just not done before. I think that's going to be that's what I'm kind of looking forward to most.
Well, I honestly,
Sure.
I could keep talking to you because there's still so many things that I like, even from back in the day, like some of those guys that we all raced against, so many of us were lucky enough to, end up we all have jobs racing cars, right? But I think it just goes to show that era that we kind of grew up in was such a strong era of young drivers. And it's really cool to see you get this chance with an incredible team. Those guys there, Garrett and that whole organization, I have more respect for that group of people than I think I've got for most people that I've worked with in racing. I've worked with a lot of great people, but that group is just a great group. So I'm pumped for you, and it's you're gonna have a great time. I think either way, you're gonna have a great time experiencing this. So we appreciate you coming on this show to give us a little bit more of that info.
Yeah, I mean, I also have to reiterate that point, man. I mean, my gym, they've built such a fantastic, organization there, and they've kind of took me under their wing, since, what I like about them is, right, we've worked hard together, we've got good results, they feel like, I've delivered for them, and they're kind of trying to deliver for me in terms of they gave me
Which
this
is
opportunity,
awesome.
right?
That's a dream situation for a driver, right? We bust our butts. And it's like, hey,
exactly.
This is what we
I can't be
more
great. Yeah, and I can't be more grateful for what they've we've kind of done together, and also hopefully what we can there's still hopefully things we can achieve down this route. But yeah, what a good bunch of dudes, and yeah, I'm really excited for the year, and having Felix on board, at least it's gonna be good fun for
Great
sure.
guy, yeah.
We get on really well, so yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Awesome.
I hope to see you around, man. I hope to see you back in that paddock as well.
Well, I don't know if I have much of a chance at that, but I'll definitely do that one big race in May. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it, and have a great winter of whatever you're gonna do. Probably some great things.
Yeah. Dude, thanks so much. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
It's a shame we could have chatted for longer. Because we got some good stories, eh?
We'll get you around two. Off season's a long time. If you got another opportunity, we'll get it lined up.
Exactly.
Well, we appreciate Tom's time there. I honestly wish we could have got more. I think he should definitely come back for another interview. There's a lot to talk about. Great talker though. Love to hear the story of kind of where he started and a lot of the things that he started talking about. I remember so vividly as soon as he said it, because this was an era where we were all young drivers, all trying to make it, and everyone had a bit of a different route to get there. But yeah, we tested on the same team, GP3, I believe, at the end of the year for Carlin, or at the beginning of the year for ART whenever I was driving for them. So I've known him for a long time. As we mentioned just briefly, we had an incredible weekend at Formula E in Brooklyn just a couple years ago, like freshly coming out of COVID. And it was great to see all the homies from the European racing days, because a lot of our friends ended up in Formula E. So it was cool to hang out with those guys. But yeah, great dude, and I'm excited to see what he can do with that with the MSR team.
No doubt, yeah. Seemed like a great guy. Always fun to get to know new people that come in to the IndyCar series. So looking forward to having a chance to talk more and more with him once we turn the calendar year for sure. All right, let's do it. Let's get to our Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. The Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. This week comes from the 1951 Indianapolis 500. 1951 Indianapolis 500, won by Lee Wallard. Now, Lee Wallard is someone that we probably could have been a Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week before, because I don't remember that name at all. So Lee Wallard won the race, but our Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week was the 11th place finisher. The 11th place finisher in car number 69. Interesting. Gene Force. So Gene Force in the number 69 machine. You definitely know he partied back in the day. Gene Force. Eugene Robert Force, American race car driver, New Madison, Ohio. Died in Brooklyn, Michigan as a result of a heart attack. At Michigan International Speedway. That's very sad. R.I.P. USAC guy for a long time. The McKay Special, number 37 car that Force drove in the 1960 Indianapolis 500 was a 1959 Curtis Craft 500J, owned and entered by Roy McKay of Dayton, Ohio. Interesting. So I mentioned the 1960. 1951 was his first Indy 500, car number 69, finished 11th, and he didn't do the Indy 500 again until 1960. So quite a spread there, I would say.
Yeah, a little bit of a gap. He had the edge, and he wanted to come back.
Yeah. Huh.
But finished 11th. Yeah, Gene Force, Eugene Robert Gene Force.
I wonder if he's rated or if he's related to John Force. I would love to know that.
Oh.
I would have thought that would have been in here, but I don't know.
I feel like if not, then maybe
someone let us know.
But dude, sounds like he should have been in Top Gun with a name like that. Gene Force.
Gene Force is a sweet name.
Absolutely is. All right, 2 goes at it. Best finish 11th. The other finish 28th. Retired because of oil pressure and brakes. That's Gene Force, this week's Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. Thank you very much, Connor. All right. Like I said at the top, another stacked show for you in the offseason. Connor's going to be heading to the Roll Bowl. Going to be cheering him on, hoping it stays dry, and seeing him get into the show on Saturday, right? Saturday?
Yes, Saturday. All one-day event. So practice, qualify, and race all on the same day. 3 o'clock Eastern on Saturday.
There we go. All right. There you have it. Looking forward to that. For Ben Walton, Connor Daly, I'm Joey Molinaro. Once again, for Dirty Mo Media, saying we will talk to you next week on Speed Street.
Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.